Amen. Yes, Jesus was born. Okay, he wasn't born on the 25th of December. We know that. We don't really know when. Most people reckon it's probably April time, because some people say September, others say October, but you know what? They're all guessing. The sheep would not have been out in the fields in the winter months. Interesting thing about the sheep around Bethlehem, they were the sheep for the temple. That's where they looked after the sheep for the temple. So the shepherds were doing a job on behalf of the people of the temple. Not a lot of people know that, as Michael Caine would say. Normally, we'd have little children bring up their presents. And I don't get to play with toys because there aren't any. But hey, what did you get for Christmas? That's a question we hear asked with great frequency during this time of year. Of course, people who give presents, obviously, because if you didn't give presents, no one would receive presents. But generally, we don't ask the question, what did you give for Christmas? We say, what did you get? Christmas challenges us to invert this mentality. For it, as the saying goes, a season for giving. Think about when you give a gift, when you put a lot of thought into it, when you make it something truly special. It takes a lot of planning, time, doing everything just right, especially to make it a happy surprise. Guys, a bunch of flowers in the garage doesn't cut it. The correct type of giving mirrors God himself. He is a God of giving, not getting. Christmas is indeed about gift giving. God's gift to us, the greatest gift of all, the gift of his Son. And God too put a lot of planning into it. It took him a long, long time. And he just had to set it up to the perfect time, the perfect point in history when he would give us this gift. Throughout the season of Advent leading up to Christmas, we heard from the prophets of the old telling who God would send to set his people free. At the time of the prophets, the people of God were always being occupied. Assyria to the east, Babylon to the north, Egypt to the south. People were looking forward to a king, an anointed one, who would set them free from political oppression. God's plan, though, much bigger. We have a big God. His plans are big. Mm-hmm. He sent not a hero, a David, a Saul, Solomon, no. He wasn't talking about releasing people from political oppression, because at the end, those sort of powers, they pass away. Rome gone, Babylon gone, all those powers. God would send his very own Son to save people from one oppression that can hold us captive for the whole of eternity. The oppression of sin and death. What a gift. You can't wrap that up and put it under the tree. There is none greater. Are we thankful? just think, thanks a lot, and then get on with it. Think about when you receive a very special gift, a thoughtful gift filled with love. Think about the gratitude you feel. Now imagine that it's not a material object, but an action. A truly heroic action, such as someone risking their life to save you. Think about the gratitude you feel then. It's not just a matter of saying thanks and then going on your way. You feel a certain debt, but you can't pay that back. You can't do enough to express your thanks. How then do we express thanks to God for the greatest gift of all, his Son who came to free us from eternal death by taking on a human body? So in that body he could die on a cross for us. We owed this debt to God because we incurred it by our sin. But it was a debt we could never pay. We could never pay it on our own. We needed God's divinity to pay it back, for only the power of God could accomplish that. Therefore, God assumed humanity so that, as a man, he could pay that debt for us. So, now the debt we owe to God is a debt of gratitude. That too is a debt for which we could never pay back. But our gratitude makes us try. We live in a world filled with resentment, which always results from the attitude of getting. What am I going to get out of this? You know? This is a path that leads to misery. Christmas reminds us that God chose to be poor in order to be with us and to save us. The recognition of our gratitude to God for his love helps us to set out on a path of holiness. That's to say, authentic and everlasting happiness. The only way to be really happy, no matter what the circumstances of our lives, is to be in the right relationship with God. Yeah, there may be times when you're not in a happy state, but I'm not talking about that superficial happiness. It's a happiness that is within, a happiness that only God can give us. Gratitude opens the door for him to do things for us. Thank God for the example of so many of the saints. Let us live our lives in a way that lets Jesus put us in a right relationship with God. We can never repay God for all that he has done for us. But if we are truly grateful, then we will want to try. That is, we will want to live our lives that are pleasing to him. Because what pleases him is what makes us happy. And that means living a life of giving, not getting. May the spirit of Christmas, the season of giving, renew in us a desire to give gratefully, always and in all ways, that God may be glorified and that we may share his life forever in heaven. What a gift. From a heaven where he was creator of the world, to a stable, to a manger, to a cross, back to heaven, and then he is coming again. Amen. That's the main thing. Let us go and tell others that Jesus is coming. We could tell them the good news. It's up to them to accept it. The next song we're going to sing, we sang yesterday, and we're going to sing it again today, because it is about going and telling. Go, tell it on the mountain. Now, the only mountain we have around here is Mount Felix, and that's not very high. But it's a mountain where we can actually get up to people and say, Jesus is the reason for the season, and he's the reason that we can have everlasting life. So let's stand and sing.